Hello everyone, and welcome back to Life Single Review. I hope you're all doing wonderfully today, and ready for a truly heartwarming story that will remind you why kindness matters. Today's episode reveals a secret from Dee's past that even Huyen didn't know about. A mysterious stranger appears at their home by the river, leaving gifts and a cryptic note. Who is this person? Why is he looking for Dae and Huyen? What connection does he have to their family? The answers will take us back 6 months to a moment when Dee made a life-changing decision without expecting anything in return. This is a story about how one act of kindness can ripple through time and come back in the most unexpected ways. It's about strangers becoming friends and good deeds being remembered when we least expect it. Sometimes the people we help never forget us, even when we've forgotten them. Before we begin this beautiful journey, please hit that like button, subscribe to Life Single Review, and ring the notification bell. Your support means the world to us. Now let's discover the mystery of the stranger who came looking for Dee. It is a peaceful afternoon by the river. The sun hangs warm in the sky, and a gentle breeze carries the scent of wildflowers from the nearby fields. The little house where Dae, Huyen, and Bibi live sits quiet and empty at this moment. Dae and Huyen have gone to the market to sell their vegetables and the fish they caught yesterday. They left early in the morning, their baskets full of fresh produce, hoping for good sales today. Bibi stayed behind with a kind neighbor who often helps watch the little girl when her parents need to work. The neighbor's house is just down the path, close enough that Bibi can run home if she wants to, but far enough that the main house sits undisturbed in the afternoon stillness. Birds chirp in the trees. The river flows steadily past, its eternal song unchanged. Everything feels normal, ordinary, like any other day in this quiet corner of the countryside. Then a car appears on the dirt road, unusual in this rural area where most people travel by motorbike or bicycle. The vehicle slows and stops in front of Dae and Huyen's home. A man steps out, and immediately his appearance suggests he is not from around here. He looks to be in his early 40s, dressed neatly in clean slacks and a pressed shirt. His shoes are polished, his hair combed carefully. He carries himself with the bearing of someone who works in an office, not in the fields. In his hands, he holds a large bag that clearly contains gifts. The bag is decorated nicely, the kind of presentation you see in city shops, not village markets. The man approaches the door and knocks firmly, waiting with an expression of eager anticipation on his face. No one answers. He knocks again, louder this time, calling out a polite greeting. Still nothing but silence. The neighbor who is watching Bibi hears the knocking and comes over, curious about the well-dressed stranger. The man asks if this is the home of Dae and Huyen. The neighbor confirms that it is, but explains that the couple has gone to market and will not return until late afternoon, possibly evening. The stranger's face falls with obvious disappointment. He asks what time they might be back, but the neighbor cannot say exactly. Market days are unpredictable. The man stands there for a long moment, clearly trying to decide what to do. He has come a long distance. That much is obvious. He looks at the house with such a peculiar expression, something between gratitude and longing, as if the building itself holds great meaning for him. Finally, He seems to make up his mind. He sets the gift bag carefully on the doorstep, where it cannot be missed. Then he pulls a pen and paper from his pocket and writes a short message. His handwriting is neat and purposeful. When he finishes, he folds the note and places it on top of the bag, where it will be immediately visible. The note reads simply, "I will return tomorrow. Thank you for everything." The stranger takes one last look at the house, his eyes sweeping across the modest structure with what can only be described as deep appreciation. Then he nods to the neighbor, thanks her for her help, returns to his car, and drives away. The neighbor watches him go, puzzled by the whole encounter. Who was that man? What does he want with Ly Tu Huyen? And what did his mysterious note mean? When Ly Tu Huyen return home that evening, tired but satisfied with their market sales, they immediately notice the decorated bag sitting by their door. Both stop in surprise, exchanging confused glances. Huyen picks up the bag carefully, while Day reads the note aloud. They look at each other with matching expressions of bewilderment. Inside the bag, they find an impressive array of gifts. There are fresh fruits of varieties they rarely see, expensive apples and grapes that must have come from the city. There are boxes of quality cookies and candies, the kind packaged beautifully in tins. There are also toys for a small child, educational books, and even some household items that show thoughtful consideration. De racks his brain trying to remember who might have left such generous gifts. Is it someone he knows from work? A distant relative neither of them can recall? Huyen searches her memory too, but comes up empty. They are not the kind of people who receive mysterious presents from strangers. Their life is simple, their circle of friends and acquaintances small and well-known. The neighbor comes over and describes the man who visited, his neat appearance, his city clothes, his expensive car. But even with this description, neither Day nor Huyen can identify who it might be. The mystery deepens. They decide there is nothing to do but wait until tomorrow, when the stranger promised to return. That night they talk about it over dinner, both curious and slightly anxious about who this person could be. The next morning arrives bright and clear. Day and Huyen make sure to stay home, both too curious to risk missing the mysterious visitor again. Bibi plays in the yard, unaware of the anticipation her parents feel. Around mid-morning, they hear the sound of a car engine approaching. Day and Huyen exchange a look and move toward the door together. The same vehicle from yesterday pulls up in front of their house. The well-dressed man steps out, and this time, he carries a bouquet of fresh flowers, along with another small package. He walks to the door with a mixture of nervousness and excitement on his face. When Day opens the door, the stranger breaks into a warm smile. "Good morning," he says politely. "Do you remember me?" Day studies the man's face carefully. There is something vaguely familiar about him, but Day cannot place where or when they might have met. He shakes his head slowly, honestly confused. Huyen stands beside Day, equally puzzled. The stranger's smile grows even wider, as if he expected this response. "I am the man you saved 6 months ago," he says simply. The words hang in the air for a moment. Dee's eyes widen slightly as fragments of memory begin to surface. 6 months ago, an accident, blood on the road. The stranger sees recognition beginning to dawn on Dee's face and continues with his story. He explains that 6 months prior, he was involved in a terrible motorcycle accident. A large truck had swerved into his lane, and the collision sent him flying from his bike onto the hard pavement. He landed badly, his head struck the ground, and he lost consciousness immediately. Blood poured from wounds on his head and arms. He lay there on the side of the road, helpless and dying. Several people gathered to look, but no one dared to help. In Vietnam, there is sometimes fear that those who assist accident victims will be blamed or forced to pay medical costs. So people stood and stared, but no one moved to save him. He would have died there on that road if Day had not happened to pass by. Day was riding home from somewhere. The stranger continues when he saw the crowd and the body lying on the ground. Unlike the others, Day did not hesitate. He pushed through the onlookers, knelt beside the injured man, and immediately began trying to stop the bleeding with his own cloth. Day called for an ambulance, and when it arrived, he rode with the stranger to the hospital. At the hospital, the doctor said the stranger had lost a dangerous amount of blood and suffered a serious head injury. If he had arrived even 30 minutes later, he likely would not have survived. But there was another problem. The stranger had no identification on him. Nothing had survived the accident intact, and he was unconscious. The hospital needed someone to guarantee payment before they would perform the necessary surgery. Day did not hesitate. He pulled out his wallet and gave the hospital staff every bit of money he had. It was supposed to be money for his own living expenses, money he had saved carefully over weeks of hard work. But he handed it all over without a second thought to save a complete stranger's life. Then, once he was sure the man would be taken care of, Dee quietly left the hospital. He did not leave his name or contact information. He did not wait for thanks or expect to be repaid. When the stranger finally woke up days later, weak and bandaged but alive, he asked the nurses who had brought him in and paid for his treatment. No one could tell him much. They remembered a thin man who seemed poor himself but gave everything he had. That was all. The stranger asked again and again during his recovery, desperate to know the identity of the person who saved his life. But the hospital had no records beyond a partial payment receipt. As Dee listens to this story, the memories come flooding back. Yes, he remembers that day now. He remembers the crowd of useless onlookers, the man bleeding on the road, the desperate rush to the hospital. He had not thought about it much since then. For Day, it was simply the right thing to do. Any decent person would have done the same, he thought. He never imagined the man would try to find him. Huyen stands beside Dee with tears streaming down her face. She had no idea her husband had done something so selfless. Day never mentioned it, never bragged about saving someone's life. He just quietly went about his daily routine as if spending his last money to save a stranger was nothing remarkable. Her heart swells with love and pride. The stranger, who introduces himself as Mr. Min, explains how he searched for Day. After leaving the hospital, he returned multiple times, asking every staff member he could find about the man who saved him. Eventually, a nurse remembered checking someone in for payment and found Dee's name on an old receipt, but there was no address, No phone number, just a name. Mr. Min began a long search, asking in villages throughout the region if anyone knew a man named who matched the description. He traveled to dozens of small communities, showed people photos of the area near where the accident happened, and asked questions everywhere he went. It took nearly 3 months of persistent searching, but finally, someone directed him to this house by the river. Mr. Min tries to give the money as thanks, a substantial amount that would change their lives. But Day refuses gently but firmly. He did not save Mr. Min for money, he explains. He saved him because it was right. Mr. Min understands and respects this, but he still wants to help in some way. He offers to provide funding to expand their small farm, or to ensure little Bibi can attend a good school with all her expenses covered. After discussion with Huyen, Day agrees to accept a modest amount of help, enough to improve their vegetable garden and perhaps buy better equipment for fishing. Nothing excessive, just enough to make their work a little easier. Mr. Min is moved by their humility. Before leaving, Mr. Min promises to stay in touch and visit regularly. He says with emotion thick in his voice, "Because of you, I am alive to watch my own children grow up. I will never forget what you did." A beautiful new friendship has begun. And so, dear friends, we see how goodness returns to those who give it freely. Dee saved a stranger's life without thinking about reward or recognition. He used his last money, asked for nothing in return, and walked away believing he had simply done what anyone should do. But the universe does not forget acts of pure kindness. Mr. Min spent months searching for the man who saved him, driven by gratitude and the need to express thanks. When he finally found Day and Huyen, he discovered not a hero seeking glory, but a humble farmer who barely remembered his own good deed. That kind of genuine goodness is rare and precious. This story reminds us that kindness is never wasted. Even when we help others without expectation, our actions ripple outward in ways we cannot predict. Day gave what he had to save a life, and now that life has returned to bless his family with friendship and support. Sometimes the greatest rewards are not the money or gifts, but the connections we make and the proof that goodness exists in the world. Thank you for watching this beautiful episode. If it touched your heart, please like, share, and comment below. Subscribe to Life Single Review and ring that notification bell to follow more inspiring stories. Until next time, remember that every act of kindness matters. This is Life Single Review, sending you love and light.